Fulyana, maybe you can
Geldiniz.
start and then Xanthe can continue.
Okay, okay. Hoş geldiniz diyorum. Birazcık bekliyoruz. Bu arada 2 dakika ben şey yapayım. Çünkü yani kayıt olan bir sürü velimiz var. Eminim birazdan katılacaklardır. Şimdi e, Immerse programlarını zaten genel olarak çoğunuz özellikle İngiltere isteyen veya akademik program isteyen öğrencilerimiz biliyor oluyor. Onun için bir sürü öğrencimiz her yaz Immerse'ün akademik ve kariyer programlarına katılıyorlar. Biz de her sene mutlaka bir kere kendileri de bizi kırmıyorlar. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bize bir sunum yapmalarını ve programlarla ilgili bilgi vermelerini istiyoruz. Bu sene de hani sene başında yapalım. Şu anda hazır geçen senenin fiyatlarıyla giderken süreç Kasım sonuna kadar sizler de bilgi alıp ona göre kayıt yapabilin istedik. Onun için yani keyifli bir bilgilendirme olacak aslında. Ve bana göre akademik programlar veya üniversite turları yaptığımız her zaman şeyden çok daha etkili oluyor aslında. Yani bir danışmanlık hizmetinden daha etkili oluyor ve başvurularda çok daha faydalı oluyor. Onun için kesinlikle bunlara katılmalarını biz çocukların tavsiye ediyoruz. Zaten çok fazla öğrenci de bu programlara katılıyorlar. Onun için inşallah herkes için faydalı olur. Sunum İngilizce olarak yapılacak. Daha sonrasında yani bu arada sorularınız falan varsa siz bize sorarsınız, takıldığınız bir şey olursa biz onları cevaplandıracağız. Ayrıca da zaten programa katılan herkese ee, yarın mutlaka hem Immerse'ün programlarını online programlar dahil olmak üzere hem de detaylı bilgilendirmeyi sizlere mail olarak da gönderiyor olacağız. Hepinize keyifli dinlemeler diyorum. Yani biz başlatalım, çok tutmayalım. Zaten hani onlar için geç saatler oluyor bunlar, biliyorsunuz, çalışma saatlerinin dışında bizi kırmayıp bu saatte kabul ettiler. O yüzden şimdi başlatabiliriz diye düşünüyorum. Xanthe, thank you very much that you share your time with us. And we are excited to hear all the information you are going to explain us. And you can start now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I will share my screen then and we can get going. Okay. Cool. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much for spending your evening with me. I really appreciate that. My name's Xanthe and I work for Immerse Education and I've worked here for nearly 2 years now. So I've seen two of our summers go ahead. So I have a pretty good grasp on exactly what it is that we offer across sort of June, July and August in the summertime. So I'm going to go through everything about Immerse, but make sure you write down any questions you have and we can certainly come to those at the end. So what you can see here is a world map and we are now based in multiple locations across the globe. So we're mostly based in Oxford, Cambridge and London. It all started out of Cambridge and it's our biggest site. But now we are based in the US, Canada, Singapore, Japan, and Australia as well. And our Australia program is a January program, so slightly different. And as you can see on the right-hand side there, we're always trying to be based at those world famous high ranking universities. So you get a good idea of what it's like to study in those top institutions. So we have two different types of programs, which we call our two pathways. They are academic insights and career insights. So the idea behind these two pathways is that if you're doing one that is academic insights, you know your outcomes versus career insights. So if you're doing an academic insights program, You're essentially getting a university experience. What is it like to be at that particular university in that particular city, or more widely, that particular country, perhaps? You will be taught by academic tutors, and you'll be having academic lessons, and then you'll have activities and so forth as well. But the idea is to understand what university level study is. On the other side, we have the Career Insights programs. And while you will still be living at a university and you'll still be gaining a lot of insight as to what it is like to study at university level, the actual focus of the program is about the industry that you might enter post studying that subject at university. So if you came to do engineering, it's more about, okay, you've done your 3 years of university. Now what? What's out there? So you spend a lot more of your time learning from industry experts and doing industry tours and visits and workshops. So I will start with academic insights, and this is what we offer in Oxford and Cambridge, and Toronto, Boston, Singapore, and Sydney for that January program as well. We also have a slightly different program called Female Future Leaders. I'm not going to go into it too much today, but essentially that program doesn't just focus on one subject. So any girls who choose to study Female Future Leaders will look at women in STEM and in business and in politics, and maybe issues that you might have to overcome within those fields and how to overcome them, focusing on skills-based learning. On the other side of things, for our standard academic insights, you would pick your specific subject, such as the ones you can see here. So, as I mentioned, Oxford and Cambridge are our biggest sites. So we have the majority of our subjects there. And in the next slide, I'll show you what subjects we have in our other locations. We do split our students by ages, so 13 to 15 and 16 to 18. And you would be based at these actual universities. And again, I'll show you a glimpse of the universities and the colleges that we're using in a moment. For the most part, we are based just across July and August. A couple of our programs do start at the end of June, but you'll be able to see all of our dates on our website. And then we do have maximum class sizes of 10. So this is a very small class. It's probably smaller than you're used to at school. And this is an opportunity for you to really make use of having these teachers that are from Oxford or Cambridge or from Toronto, all of these fantastic universities. This is your chance to really make use of that, get to know them, pick their brains, ask some questions, and do some really great work over 2 weeks. And you do have 40 hours of tuition over those 2 weeks, which might sound a lot, but I'm going to show you a timetable soon, and you'll see that actually it doesn't break down to be too much. It's a good balance. Then in Toronto, Singapore, and Boston, we are just for 15 to 18, so for the slightly older audience. And in Toronto, we're based at the University of Toronto at Victoria College. And in Singapore, we're based at the National University of Singapore. Boston location is still to be confirmed, but keep an eye on our website or our Instagram. Is always a good place to keep in touch with us, and you'll be able to see everything there. So as you can see, we just have slightly fewer subjects available in these locations. So they are a bit more of a boutique experience. You will find that you won't have as many peers in Toronto as you will do if you're in Cambridge. So if you're someone who likes a slightly smaller environment, one of these might be quite nice for you. And you're still going to be looking at having sort of 40 students on these programs, more so in Toronto, because if you're talking a maximum of 10 in each subject, then we're talking 40 or so. And this is the timetable I mentioned. It's a little bit light in spots, so apologies if you can't quite see it all, but I'll talk you through it anyway. So here on this first slot in the morning, that's just your breakfast. So everybody has breakfast included, and this sort of part before your lessons, you would go down and you would have your breakfast with your peers. Then in the morning, you have a theory-based session with your tutor, which is around 2 hours, so 9:30 until 11:30. This is your time to sort of learn about all the concepts in the classes, and sort of understand everything about whatever it is that you're studying for that particular morning. Then you have a lunch break. The lunch breaks are quite long, so you do get quite a lot of free time. This is your time to relax with your friends, eat your food. And if you're the older group, so 15 to 18 or 16 to 18, depending on the location, then you would not have your lunch at the campus, but you would go out into the city, buy your own food, have a little bit more independence, and get the chance to explore that little bit more. Then you come back to the campus, and in the afternoon, you have a more practical based session. So these sessions are your time to consolidate what you've learned in the morning, and also your chance to sort of get a little bit more hands-on. What I should mention, though, is that all of our classes are designed to be more like seminar style learning, so very interactive, talking with your peers, talking with your tutor, rather than lecture based. We don't want our tutors just standing there and talking at you, because it's not very interesting. So all of it will be that bit more practical, but we do separate it out for the morning to be a bit more theory and the afternoon to be a bit more practical. For example, if you're doing medicine, it might be quite clear that that afternoon practical might be learning how to suture or doing a dissection. But if you're doing something like the PPE program, then it might be that you're doing a debate in the afternoon. So yeah, we just want to get you talking in and a bit more energized for those afternoon sessions. And then you have an activity either side of the evening meal. And again, the evening meal is included for everybody, and you have that on campus. And your activities will be a real range. Generally, how it works is that your first activity before the evening meal is something that might be off campus. So you might do a scavenger hunt around the city, or you might be doing chauffeured punting or self-guided punting. And then after the meal, you're probably back on campus, and you might be having a quiz night, or playing werewolf or cake and canvas, and you're just winding down for the evening. In both Oxford and Cambridge, you have a traditional Oxbridge formal dinner. This is a really nice opportunity to get a little bit more dressed up and to experience what generally does happen at Oxford and Cambridge. They do have these traditional formal dinners, and you will have one at your host college and one at a different college. So you get to experience a couple of those. Then in the middle here, you have your 2 excursion days. So if you're based in Oxford, you'll go to Cambridge. If you're based in Cambridge, you'll go to Oxford, and you'll have a day in London. And just to mention also, if you're based in Toronto or Singapore, you will be going to one of the main touristic spots in those locations. So for instance, in Toronto, they go to Niagara Falls. So something exciting that those particular cities have to offer. And here is a glimpse at our colleges. So here you can see our 4 Oxford colleges. We might even have more colleges added to these, but for the moment, these are the colleges that we've used in summer 2024, and that we'll be looking to use again in summer 2025. So as you can see, they're all pretty lovely colleges. They're all quite traditional. The only one that's slightly less traditional is Balliol College. It's a little bit more modern, as you can see, but students who are based in Balliol will still have their classes in the more traditional older buildings that belong to the University of Oxford. So you still very much get to experience the whole University of Oxford experience. And in Cambridge, these are our 6 colleges. So again, we might have another college being added to that. But for the moment, these are our 6 colleges. Again, they're all pretty beautiful, as you can see. How it works with college allocation is quite an important thing to probably bring up at this stage. So if you decide, yeah, I would love to study biology in Cambridge, then that is what you would sign up to. You wouldn't, however, sign up to study biology at Sydney Sussex College. The college will be allocated to you closer to the summer. They're all lovely. one isn't better than the other. So I'm sure you'd be happy in any of the colleges, but it's just something to be aware of, that we have all of these lovely colleges, but you would be allocated to them closer to the summertime. In Toronto, we're at Victoria College, and you can see just a few little photos here. This is one of the actual college classrooms that we used, which I thought was really cool. It's for the law students, I believe, used this, which I just think is a really cool classroom, one that isn't like many that you've ever seen. In Singapore, we used the UTown campus. The exact location is still yet to be fully determined, but yeah, it should be on the UTown campus in Singapore. So a really cool city to be based. And then we move on to Career Insights. So Career Insights is a program that we offer in London, New York, San Francisco, and Tokyo. These are the subjects that we offer in each of the locations. So again, it's slightly smaller, fewer subjects. In London, we do now offer 10 subjects. So this has significantly grown since we started running our London program a few years back now. We started with just 4, then grew and grew, and now we have 10. In New York, we have 5, and in San Francisco and Tokyo, we have 4. The way we like to decide on our subjects is partly distinguished or decided depending on the actual city itself, because we think it's nice that if you go to a specific city, your subject can tie into that. So, for instance, Tokyo is a very creative city, very artistic, and we have film and animation there. San Francisco, where we've got Silicon Valley and lots of sort of technological advancements going on, we have our software development and AI program, along with entrepreneurship, which again really makes sense being in that sort of Silicon Valley area where that's really prominent. And then in New York, going down the likes of fashion and design, one of the fashion capitals of the world, and banking and finance, where you've got Wall Street. So we try to tie that in and make it as interesting as possible to sort of put those locations and subjects together. In London, we are based at UCL, and we use 2 UCL colleges. So we use Astor College and John Dodgson House, which you can see here. So they are both a bit more modern than that of Oxford and Cambridge and some of those colleges that we use. And they are in central London. So it's Zone 1. You can't really get more central in London than this. And some of those activities that you might do in London would be the likes of going to a West End show, getting dinner in Covent Garden, and lots of other bits and pieces. And this is all single bedroom accommodation in London. In New York, we are based at Columbia University, and we're at Barnard College. So Barnard College is one of the main colleges right next to the main Columbia campus. And this is the Barnard campus you can see here, with this building on the left-hand side being the Milstein building. This particular area is really beautiful. I was lucky enough to be in New York this summer, and yeah, it's super green. It wasn't what I expected of New York at all. Very beautiful area, and all of the sort of surrounding areas is very nice as well. In New York, we have single and twin rooms, and yeah, it's Morningside Heights in Manhattan. So that's sort of the Upper West Side. And students in New York got to go to a Broadway show. So this year we went to Hamilton, and they do a Statue of Liberty boat tour, and again, multiple other activities. And in San Francisco, we are based at the University of California, Berkeley, and we were in Residence Halls Unit 2. So again, we were single and twin rooms. That's much more common in the US. They very much sort of go towards twin rooms a lot of the time. So that's why that's the case in these places. When I was at university, for instance, one of my housemates in first year had requested a twin room. He was American, and it's just very much the standard. So you'll find that that's a little bit more prominent with US programs. This is fairly close to Silicon Valley. So that's where we do our, or a lot of our workshops and tours and visits. And activities here include things such as going to a baseball game and going to Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39, which, if you've been to San Francisco, is such a nice area of the city. So to walk you through the timetable here, as it is a little bit different to what I've shown you for the academic program, depending on the city as well, this might change a little bit. So if you're in London, quite often, or how we've done it in the past, is that you have a morning in the classroom and then an afternoon doing an industry visit. However, for San Francisco, what we did this year was a day on campus and then a day of industry visits. So like what you can see here. It just depends on what suits with the location with regards to how close we are to industry visits. And we don't want you spending lots of time on buses or coaches having to get to places. So if it makes more sense to do a day on campus and a day off campus, then that's how we would run that. So when you're in the classroom for Career Insights, there is emphasis on a project. Now, you do work on a project in the Academic Insights program as well, but in Career Insights, you delve a little bit deeper into your project. You have a little bit more time to focus on this. You will also have career skills workshops. Those will be, again, either once a day or depending on how the timetable works, but essentially it works out as about 30 minutes per day. And these might be that you're focusing on how to write a CV, or when you're applying to jobs, how to apply to those jobs, interview preparation and skills. So that's the sort of thing that you would be learning in those career skills. You also have your tutor one-to-one sessions, and this might be that you are talking to them about their career. How did they get to where they are? How can you get to where you want to be? Or it might be that you're just talking about your project and asking them where you should go next, what else you should look at, and what you should include in your project. So it's up to you to use that tutor one-to-one as you want to use it. And then activity-wise, you would just have one activity after an evening meal. So there's slightly more sort of classroom or navigating in and around cities. So you just have the one activity after a meal. And again, yeah, I've mentioned theatre shows, so West End or Broadway. Cake and Canvas is a very popular one for our students, quiz nights, talent shows, etc. And then again, there are those full day excursions on the weekends. So again, if you're in London, then you would have a day in London and a day to Oxford or Cambridge. And then if you're in New York, that's the day that we did the Statue of Liberty boat tour, crossed over the Golden Gate Bridge. Sorry, not the Golden Gate Bridge, the bridge in New York, and then went over to Dumbo and had an afternoon over there. So again, we use the touristic spots there. Something I didn't mention in the last timetable also is that you can see a graduation here. So that final day, you have a slightly different layout. And this is the same for Academic Insights and Career Insights. So you will have a final presentation of the project that you have worked on across your time with us. And then you will have a graduation in the afternoon, followed by a graduation party in the evening where you'll have a meal and a party before your final goodbyes when you leave us the day after. So that final day is always super nice. It can be a little bit scary in the morning when you've got to do your presentation, but once that's all done, it's just all fun for the rest of the day and being with your friends and using that last little bit of time before you're off home again. So something you might have noticed I didn't talk about too much when looking at that timetable is those industry visits. So what actually are the industry visits when you're doing Career Insights? Well, what you can see here is a few different companies that we work with who deliver industry visits for us. So we do work with some really big names that you would be aware of, so such as the Bank of England or Chelsea Football Club. You've heard of Barclays, you know of these companies. But we also work with some companies that you probably won't have heard of, but it might be that they are for instance, where we do entrepreneurship in San Francisco, that they are a new startup company and they're doing something really exciting, and you don't know the name yet, but you may very well do at some time in the future. So to give you a little bit more detail, the business students are the ones who have this Chelsea Football Club day. So for these students, what they are learning is the business behind a football club. We've all seen a football match, but what actually is going on behind the scenes on both match days, but also non-match days? What's the deal when it comes to merchandise and marketing and finance and staffing? How does that actually work? Law students get to go to the Old Bailey in London, and they get to essentially have a go at being all of the different roles in the courtroom. So take on the chance to be the defense or be a witness or be the judge, and sort of do an example of that. Engineering students get to go to Thorpe Park. So for that one, they will have a workshop with the engineers of Thorpe Park, where they will learn about sort of the engineering and the science behind all the different roller coasters. But then, of course, they do get the chance to actually go on those roller coasters too. So we have lots of different workshops that students will do. So this is really a chance for you to focus on all of the different areas within that industry, what's out there. And then your project is your chance to then narrow down on something that you're particularly interested in. So who are your peers? Who would you be coming to do these programs with? This year, or I should have actually updated this, it's going back a couple of years, but we have had over 100 different nationalities in every year for the last sort of 2-3 years. I think this year we definitely had over 120 different nationalities. These students come from all over the world. We have so many students that come to us. So we have native speakers. So from the UK, Ireland, USA, Canada, and even Australia is in our top 10 different nationalities. So we get a lot of students coming from all the way across the world to do this. So what I always like to say is that you will meet like-minded individuals. This is really your chance to meet people that are sort of interested in the same things as you, and to make friends for a long time. I met with a student who studied in 2019, and he said that he and his friends that he'd met at Immerse were all planning to come back in 2020. Unfortunately, that's when COVID happened, and they were 16, so they weren't able to come back again, I don't think. So they missed out on being able to come back. But he said this was last year. He said they still talked every day, which is amazing. So he really found his people, and now they're still friends, and they're from all different corners of the earth, but are still good friends. So they've been talking, for 3 years or so. Finally, I want to touch on the online side of things that we offer. So we have an online research program that we offer. What we have is a classic version, an accredited version, and a group accredited version. So the difference between the classic and the accredited is that the accredited is slightly longer. It's 5 hours longer, because you will be covering specific things that are needed in order for that accreditation to be given to you. And then that accreditation will earn you 8 UCAS points. So if you're applying to a UK university, then those 8 UCAS points are essentially the difference between an A and a B. It's the difference between a grade. If you're not worried about UCAS points and you're not worried about getting an accreditation, then you can do the just classic 10 hours. And what this program actually is a chance for you to work either one-to-one or in a group of maximum 10 with a tutor towards a university level research paper. So this is just a really good chance for you to gain the skills that you're going to need at university. The style of writing can be a little bit different when you go from school to university. The teaching methods are a little bit different. So the residential programs will definitely go into sort of how is that different, but so will the online research program. it will give you a much better idea of what your tutors are actually going to be like. How will they interact with you at university, and how does that all work? I've always said that this is a program I think I could have really benefited from. At university, my main feedback was always that my writing technique wasn't quite right, but I was never given the advice to actually change that. I was just told it was wrong, and I was never told how to make it right. So I think this sort of program would have been very helpful for me to have that one-to-one attention to actually, make a difference in what I was doing. So there are a couple of outcomes with this, sort of covered it a little bit, but this is a great chance for you to actually showcase in a university application. This is something that will help you stand out. It shows that you're passionate about your subject. It shows that you've gone the extra mile. And this is also a potential for you to get a reference from a university tutor too. So if you're going down the Oxbridge route and you have an Oxbridge tutor, that's a fantastic reference to have when it comes to university applications, especially if you're looking to those top universities again. And this is sort of what I was talking about, but it's giving you the actual experience. This is, I think, something that you might not have done before, having written something. It's around 1,000 words that most students will write. It's something that you might not have written an essay of that length before, or you might not necessarily have had to do proper referencing and understand what is that university style teaching methods. And then equally at the bottom here, you can see there are some sort of quick wins, as we say. So if you're 15, 16, and then you're gaining all these skills now, then maybe you'll be able to enhance your grades for the last few years of high school, and then maybe get into an even better higher education institution as well. So it's a good chance for you to just work on those skills that you need. And on the right-hand side, you can see some of the different subjects that students have delved into. They're pretty high level, some of these. So students do really go the extra mile for this. And this is where, if you go into a university application, and this stands as well for the residential programs, for the projects that you're doing there. But if you go into a university interview, and they ask you a question and you are able to go into detail on a particular topic within that subject that you've studied in depth, that you know more about than many other people, it will really make you stand out. So I won't take up too much more of your time. I will just now throw it out to you because I'm sure there's some things I haven't covered. So please do ask any questions that you might have.
Hülya Hanım, sanırım sesiniz gelmiyor.
Sesim kapalı. Pardon, çok özür diliyorum. Benim sesim kapalıymış.